What's up, Rockstars? Welcome to another news video. I got some great things to cover right now, some games that you're going to probably be interested in, some good talking points, and a big announcement at the end. Alright, first some clarifications. I might sound a little weird. I might be having my mouth open a little bit. It's because I'm trying to breathe. I have a cold. I can't breathe through my nose properly. I'm breathing out my mouth. I'm sorry. I'm doing what I can here. I'm a little tired. I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there. But we got some news to cover. I've been focused on some Mythic Games drama and some stuff like that lately, but I wanted to show you some of the stuff that's on Kickstarter right now, some of the discussions that are going on, some cool new updates, and then again, an announcement at the end. So if nothing else, go ahead and use the timestamps down below to kind of go around where you need to. And of course, everything is linked down in the description below as well. And again, I do apologize for my voice or any sniffles or anything that might escape editing or that I can't edit around or whatever. Just, I'm trying. Okay, so starting things out with the Gwen gaming table by Geek & Son. I haven't covered this in a while, actually. And there's an announcement on here. First of all, 14 days to go, so you still got 2 weeks on it. And they've almost reached $1 million, which is quite impressive. My understanding is they are quite good quality. If you're in the US, shipping can sometimes be a little bit when it comes to them getting you what you ordered. At least that's what I've heard and what I've kind of experienced. But end of the day, once it finally does deliver, it seems to be great quality. One of the things I wanted to talk about is, at first they had like a first, I think, 72 hour, early bird thing with the LEDs and stuff like that. They're actually doing that for everybody now. Everybody gets the wireless charger and the LED lights. So you actually get both of those, which is really cool. I think they actually show a picture of it. Just wanted to show you real quick, especially the wireless charger, because I know you haven't maybe seen that yet. I know at least at one point they had it shown. Yeah, look at this. This is pretty slick. It's pretty cool. So you plug that in there, and then you can actually set your phone on there too, I believe. I don't know if looks like they're not going to show it there, but they do show it at some point. All right, found it. Here's the wireless charger for you. So you pull that out, you set your phone on there, it's charging. That's really kind of cool. I dig that. So there's some kind of power bank inside of there, I'm assuming. Definitely neat. Definitely cool. I think that's awesome. And again, you get all that with it. So free of charge there. Moving on from that, we also have the Hunters AD 1492. This is a really, really cool looking game. I know a lot of people really enjoyed the sci-fi one, or it's kind of like a near future one, I believe. And the fantasy, the art alone looks incredible. I love the classic fantasy. I'm glad it's not cartoony. I can tell you that much. I dig it. Looks awesome. The minis look really cool. They look pretty responsible too when it comes to how they're built. It looks like they won't break the bank on it while still keeping them quite nice. Kind of reminds me of Monolith in that sense as well. Maybe not necessarily the absolute best minis ever, but definitely something you can kind of trust, which is good. I will say that the rewards, I love that GameFound calls it rewards, by the way, instead of pledges. Like this is essentially the cost of something, but why is it not going there? Take me to rewards. There we go. Rewards. 132.17 is the current thing for USD as a kind of, I don't know what the original is. 117 euro is what that's from. So, and that's the reward. You get that, you're good to go. So that's pretty awesome, I think. We have Cysmic as well. I was covering this before, and this still has 21 days to go. They're approaching 100,000, though they just went down a little bit, but things ebb and flow, especially in the middle here. They have a long time to be there, and potentially unlock more stretch goals. I think it looks pretty neat. They definitely have a big passion for it. It definitely looks like a game that a lot of people will really enjoy when it comes to getting the dudes on the map and moving them around and doing stuff like that. So that's pretty cool to see. I dig it. All right, next up we have Guards of Atlantis 2. They're at 579,000. They have a fascinating reward structure here. If we go to rewards, wherever that is, right here, only $66 for the core box. That is really, really low, right? Like, that seems really good. But it's because I think a lot of their profit isn't riding on that. They just want as many people as they can to get that core box, which, again, I fully support lowering that core box. And then they definitely, I think, make their money in these expansions here. Jumps all the way up to $281 once you get a few of those expansions there. It's even $90 just to get 2 hero packs plus the update. So that's definitely the pricier part there, right? But $66 for a core pledge, that's pretty darn cool, I think. So Yeah, definitely it must be a pretty nice game. And the reason I say that is because of how well it's funding. People are definitely excited about it, almost 3,000 backers. But the renders and like pictures and stuff are not that great. Like this is old school Kickstarter. This is like 2010 Kickstarter. I feel like this is not quite that bad. It's more like a 2015 Kickstarter, maybe even a little bit earlier. Definitely lower end on the renders of the minis and stuff like that. So it has that feeling of like not being like AAA, but it's doing really good. And in fact, I think a lot of people are kind of cautious about AAA stuff. I think this kind of space for this AA games, I think are going to have a good comeback here. So that's really cool. I'm actually getting a little hot in this. I'm going to take this off. The AC's right there. I get a little cold. I actually got a compliment on this shirt, by the way, today. I do it all the time with Into the AM shirts. They're, of course, linked down below, too. They didn't sponsor this video specifically, but I always try to let you guys know. Definitely cool shirts. All right, so next up we have Alter Realms of the Gods. This is one I'm backing because it's like $35. Why the heck not? $39 for some beautiful art, some really cool fantasy themes. We got the Egyptian stuff. My wife is going to love that. So I think it looks really, really cool. They have a lot of really neat stuff. And yeah, this temple pledge here, super cool as well. So I mean, it's just nice. You get the little play mat that you can play on, which is cool. I dig that. And then again, they have this expansion Pilgrim's Road here, and this is probably something I will actually grab, especially now that it's there. This One Must Prevail, that's solo mode. They did announce that now, or show it a little bit better, which is good. And this, the Great Old One, is actually comes with that temple pledge, so I don't have to do that at all. So that's really cool. All right, so that is that. Let's go ahead and move on to some announcements. It says this Dicebreaker said the Elden Ring board game studio at Steamforge Games, right? SFG bought the rights to Alter Quest from Blacklist Games or from that sale or whatever it is that they did to get that. Either way, they now own Alter Quest and will be kind of taking it forward from there. So that's really cool to see. I don't know if they're just going to do straight reprint or what. They definitely want to recoup their cost of buying that. So what they plan to do, I don't know. Hopefully they let me know. Tanares had an update where they announced Ultimate Tanares Adventures. And some people are excited, some people are not. Let's discuss this a little bit here. So first of all, what's coming with it? Well, it'll be a foreteller app. They'll have upgraded books, so you just don't have to use as many books. It kind of combines them and flows them really well. So you don't have to have, you have like week 1 to 2, week 3 to 4, instead of using the journal, quest guide, and city book. This is a bit more streamlined there, a little bit nicer. A big storage box, that's super cool. And they claim that it'll still fit into Calyxes, which is awesome. You have the essential gameplay, which stores all of this stuff. And then you have the complementary components, which store all of this stuff. And they actually fit into Calyx, which is super duper cool. These boxes hold the following 11 boxes, which is awesome. That's great. That's super helpful. Also, you have all your heroes in one place, all monsters divided, organized components, and room for all sleeved cards. I know a lot of you are going to be happy about that. They also actually added a board for the world phase and board city. Also super nice. So if you notice, these are just like kind of nice to haves. Like none of them are like super big or anything like that. I think it's important to note before I even go farther in this that Tanares and Arena are both very well reviewed, very well regarded when it comes to actually playing it. And it's not like this is a bad game or something that like needed fixing. This is not a 1.5, let's fix the crappy game and finally make it good. This is, here's some a little bit of nice to haves that we can kind of print off and still also kind of, do a reprint and do all that kind of stuff. Wasteland Expedition, Arena Contest, Quests, and Tanares Adventure System. Essentially, you get to use the new Tanares system in Arena the Contest. They actually say you should probably play it afterwards. It'll be pretty difficult. So play Tanares first in that regard. We also got 1 or 2 surprises, as always. So we'll see what the 1 to 2 surprises are, of course. There is an upgrade kit. They have a few little, not even like rule changes. There's very, 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 very few of that. It's more of like clarification on some cards, stuff like that. You can actually look at the errata now, and that pretty much covers everything you're going to see in there, is my understanding. So yeah, all of it, like I said, it's already a great game. You don't have to worry about that. The problem is they're wanting to launch this June 13th. Now, that's actually a fair bit away, right? I mean, if we look at the calendar now, we're in May, so we have about another month and a half before this launches. So if you look right here at this, when it says, hey, where are they with shipping and all that kind of stuff, a lot of people have their game, but not everybody. And so some people are waiting on it. When you announce something like this, where you are doing any kind of like errata printing or anything like that, there's enough history, or enough people aren't going to read kind of what the upgrade kit really entails here when it comes to like worrying about it, because we have had stuff like Mythic Games was famous for this, right? Where they always needed a 1.5 to make their games even like playable. They'd give you the first game and there'd be bad translations and it'd be a chore to set up. It was just like a really, really rough around the edges, but there was a good core game there. So you had to wait to the 1.5 where they actually fixed the game and made it really playable. And even then sometimes you worried and needed more. Right, so this is not that, but that's, I think, a lot of the original worry. The other issue is just announcing it before most people have it. It's just always going to be an issue. If there's still a significant portion of people that don't have it, I would probably hold off on announcing. I don't think anything in this is necessarily bad or wrong. I think it's actually really cool and exciting. It's more of a timing thing, I think. That's really the key here. So there's a lot of people, kind of bummed about that. A lot of people were feeling like they're now going to get a game that's not as good. And I would just stress to look at the BGG rating if you need to. Those aren't completely accurate, but you can tend to get a pretty good idea of how good the games are. And spoiler alert, they're really good. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I think they could have announced it a little bit later. Probably bad timing on the announcement. Even if they had waited, every single day people are getting more stuff, right? So like if they waited till a month out, waited 1 to 2 more weeks, even that would have helped, I think, a little bit. All right, next up we have this. This is, I forgot. Okay, so don't make fun. It's not the best paint job. I'm certainly not done, but this is actually the full model here. And they are doing a kind of a bust of it. And there's going to be multiple, but they're showing that one. It's going to be an STL thing, of course. Super cool, though. So if you do have a 3D printer, or if you wanted somebody to print this for you, whether it's a friend, whether it's a local company or a local guy at your local gaming store, or a company like Gameware Create, which is also linked down below. They didn't sponsor this specific video, but I always link to them because they do amazing print jobs. They'll print anything you give them. Super duper cool. Definitely a very cool mini. This version here has multiple wing options. I don't know if this will too. It also has like butterfly options and stuff like that. So either way, definitely neat. All right. This is cool. This was actually posted on Board Game Revolution. And it's actually like a really interesting, well-worded, respectful comment. So I wanted to read Bryn's message here. It says, an article I read recently repeated a tired old refrain from big publishers harm small publishers by using crowdfunding. Really what they're saying here is that that's not the case at all. But I, a small publisher and researcher, prefer to have big, sexy projects listed the same platform as mine. These bring legitimacy to a ton of people to crowdfund, which helps me. Very true. In an age where that's eroding and people are like losing confidence, having these kind of like standard bearers, like, yeah, this is safe back, I still come here to get games, super duper helps. I think all ships rise in that case. There's a problem, though, and that's that they treat backers like customers. But aren't backers basically customers? Well, the problem is when you treat a backer like a customer, you aren't valuing a risk. That risk is an additional cost, and that risk has value. A prime example of not valuing that risk is when publishers sell product to customers before delivering it to backers. Say you're browsing social media and see that your buddy just picked up a copy of Ultra Miniature Dungeon from his friendly local gaming store, a game you backed on Kickstarter but haven't received. You think about how you'd love to play the game, you've been invested in it emotionally for months and financially, and at times you've even worried you wouldn't get it. But there it is, the same game you couldn't afford the Super Deluxe Edition after all, in your buddy's hands, someone who didn't fret and pine for months, someone who didn't tie up their money for the past year and a half or more, someone who didn't even have to pay shipping, someone who risked nothing. He just went to the store and bought it. It isn't fair. You feel like a chump. You complain on social media and everyone tells you that you're entitled. They say a whole bunch of stuff which can equivalency be you should just be a customer. And so they do. But crowdfunding doesn't survive on customers. It needs backers. Backers' risk is the very ecosystem upon which crowdfunding depends. Publishers, you need to stop treating your backers like customer and value your backers' risk. Otherwise, fund the project yourself. I'd love to have a discussion with you guys down in the comments below about this. Let me know your thoughts on this. I've been saying for a while that I don't think a lot of developers, they still feel like this is a transaction, that it's just you pay for something and you get it. But I think, again, that really boils down to a lack of respect for having your money for years. 1.5 years, you backed a good game, a good solid game there. It's often much longer than that. Where you didn't have that money, you couldn't invest it, you couldn't take your kids out for ice cream with it, you couldn't do nothing. You gave it to them with nothing in return, nothing in return. So when companies can't even bother having taken your money, giving you nothing yet, to even write an update every single month, it really bothers me. It really bothers me. At the very least, you could touch base. Hey, how you guys doing? We're super excited to be making this for you. Thank you so much for trusting us. Like, where is the thanks? Where is the apologies when things go wrong? Where is the attempt to try to be better? Where is the sincerity and respect for your money that they took? And again, gave you nothing in return yet. Just, I don't know. You're busy. They should always just be like, thank you so much for loaning us that money. You're literally putting food in our kids' mouths. You're putting a roof over our head. My livelihood is dependent on you, and I'm incredibly thankful. Thank you for trusting me. Imagine a developer acting that way. God forbid. My goodness. Tons do. I don't mean to really push that there. It's just there's a lot that don't, and it really bothers me. We're going to end on this. This is a Dawn of Madness update. I wanted to let you know that I have some information that's not here that I'm going to actually go over. I am trying to do better when it comes to my information, when it comes to this channel this year versus last year. And part of that is reaching out more. So I reached out to Mythic Games, and I have heard back. That'll be tomorrow's video, by the way. Feel free to check that out. Tomorrow's being Fridays, the 5th, I think, at this point now, because it's a little into the early AM here. So I'm just adding one day here at time of recording. But probably on the 5th, it will be an update on Mythic Games where I'll have some more information straight from Leo. So I'll be able to tell you more about that and provide just more information that it's all, some of it's new. So it's good to go over. I also reached out to Dimension Games because I am really excited for Celestial. However, I and many others are worried about Dawn of Madness. So we're definitely wanting to kind of see more here. Again, I'm a backer, so I trust me, I get it. So I wanted more information, and I didn't get it for a long time. I actually reached out to him quite a while ago. However, he just did a recent thing where he was Byron here was just going through all sorts of stuff, really kind of answering emails, offering refunds, clarifying things, responding to people. It was awesome. So he actually did respond to my inquiries, and I'll be sure to go over that because I asked him very specific questions. So one thing to note here is they have paid 90% of this. Furthermore, 90% of all costs associated with the game have already been paid. So one of the questions I had, and I'll do this as kind of a little preview before I get into his responses and what my questions were, was, hey, we just saw Mythic Games and how they launched Atlantis, it bombed, and then everything failed because they had these old games that they hadn't delivered. So if you launch Celestial first, before delivering Dawn of Madness, is that at risk? Well, it helps to know that actually, no, not really. They've paid for almost everything, which is great. And you can actually prepay for a lot of stuff. It depends on who you work with too, but a lot of it can be prepaid. So that's really good to see. And I'm really glad to hear that they locked that in, right? Which is good on this long-standing game like this. For the percentage complete, he just throws out stuff like 80% complete, 30%, right? These percentages, art is 95% complete, right? I don't know what, her art is 99% complete. It's all just kind of loosey-goosey. There's not really solid dates or numbers here. And I don't know if that's because they feel if they say it, with a hard date or something like that, that there'll be pushback and people get upset, especially if it doesn't happen. or I don't know if maybe they're just not really tracking things like that. Not every group is very good at really being organized and metric driven and stuff like that. So I don't know. That's maybe a follow-up question that I'll have to ask because I'm not sure. But let's go ahead and go to what I responded. So I asked, what is the current time frame of Dawn of Madness delivery? This year, Q4? The answer is that they hope Q3, but worst case scenario, Q4. So that's why they said, like, you know, hey, like, you know, we're almost done because they really believe they can deliver it this year. So that's good to see. That's good. I would guess Q4 then, right? I mean, because we're all typically optimists. I think it's more rare to be otherwise, especially when you're in the creative space, like writing, you know, creating board games, stuff like that. Often you just are excited about it and you're like, oh yeah, we're almost done. You know, you're that kind of personality. I tend to see creatives being that way more. Just personal observation. Will the pledge manager for Celestial be available after Dawn of Madness delivery for those who want to wait? The response was yes, definitely. And in fact, they're trying to kind of hold off on launching that as long as possible. Now, granted, the people in charge are not necessarily the people I'm talking to. More on that in a little bit. But either way, that's why they haven't given a specific date yet, because it'll just be coming sometime this year, but it could be much later, much closer to Dawn of Madness. In other words, they might have it out the door by the time they actually launch Celestial. So that's also cool to see. It also goes to show that they kind of have a lot, you know, that they're able to kind of show us more over time. What has been the big holdup for Dawn of Madness? The story, gameplay changes? Both. So if you recall, I reviewed Dawn of Madness, the prototype, as best as I could. It wasn't even very fully playable. There was a lot of missing stuff, and it just didn't flow well. And there was I had some feedback around people feeling like they weren't that important because it was just the main character. And there was a whole lot of stuff like that. And they really took that to heart and worked on the game to fix pretty much all of that was really their goal. And they really did change a lot of the gameplay to where it's still like the core, like the idea is still the same, the flow is still the same, but there's these little changes that they were showing me at Gen Con and that they've kind of explained here that really kind of help with that. Additionally, there was scope creep. They definitely overdid it on the stories compared to what they said. One of the problems of being a backer is you don't get a choice typically, right? Like they just create what they create and you don't have a choice on it. Kind of like shipping, like, you know how you can ship things cheaper or expensive? Well, when they ship it, they just decide on it and you have to pay the shipping costs, right? That sort of thing. Like we're out of the control of a lot of that. So there was no vote on like, hey, do you want like more story, but it'll take longer? Or do you want a game quicker, but less story? It's just, we're doing more story, which, I mean, in a way, Kickstarter's for creatives to do what they need to do, right? But at the same time, it does kind of suck when scope creep does stuff like that. They did a lot of things where each like story has unique gameplay within it, though it still flows in a general way. And then multiple endings and stuff like that. So they've done a lot of work there, and it just took a long time. Additionally, they are a small team, so any kind of sicknesses or stuff like that can delay things. There's not like there's 8 people that can do the same thing as you. I have that same experience in my actual current work. I work for a much smaller family-owned company now. I used to work for HP. And, you know, sometimes it's like, well, Bob does that. And if Bob's sick, you wait until Bob comes back. And then he can do that, right? I mean, that sort of thing does happen. So I can understand that too. He did say that the entire Chinese branch, more on that in just a little bit, contracted really like long-form COVID. And there's a lot of regulations in China around like not going to work essentially when you have COVID. So, and that actually took months to fully recover the entire team on that. So that was a big delay for them too. But again, I feel like they could have communicated a lot of this a lot better. They definitely work on their communication. Okay, so next question. Is Dimension Games good to actually deliver Dawn of Madness? What if Celestial, for whatever reason, fails to fund? Could Dawn of Madness still be delivered? And again, I wrote this a while back, so it was before the recent update. But he said, as in the update, 90% of it's actually already paid for, so there's actually not that much outstanding on it. So yeah, they're fine. So that's good to see. What can you speak on concerning the possibility of Celestial also being heavily delayed like Dawn of Madness? What would prevent that from happening? So I'll read this word for word here. Celestial will not be heavily delayed because much of the game is nearly complete. We have finalized versions of many of the miniatures already. Many of our components are done. A big chunk of the gameplay is finished. I actually have the rule book for at least one of the playways. We will never release an experimental game like Dawn of Madness that needs significant further development ever again. That should have been posted publicly a long time ago, but it's great to hear here. So that's official, word for word. That's what they're saying. And they're not going to ever do that again. Lesson learned there. Good. More knowledge about the company structure, such as different teams, new members, etc., would be helpful. So what he said here is that he obviously is not based in China, but a lot of the team is. That's actually good to know. Because first of all, that means they have a very good working relationship with the factories probably. It very much helps to speak a common language, to be in a common time zone, stuff like that. Actually be able to visit factories, that sort of thing. That's actually really good. Additionally, cheaper labor. It says the cost of living is lower. I live in Idaho, and so hiring me to do something, you can pay me less than hiring somebody in New York City or LA or something like that. Because the cost of living is just so much less, right? Or Bellevue, Washington even, or all sorts of places. It's just kind of how it is. Like, it's just cheaper to live here, and so the wages tend to accommodate that. That's why they make pay bands that are geographically based or region based. So same kind of thing. In China, it's just cheaper overall, right? To kind of run a company like that, especially, again, with all the synergies with the manufacturing right there too. A lot of companies, like Kaman has a big presence in Brazil, right? There's a lot of these companies that actually seek out these cheaper places. That's one thing that actually affected Mythic Games by having UK and French employees, right? Is that's a lot more expensive to actually have them. The benefits are different, the costs are different. It's just a more expensive hire, right? So they have a big team, or a bigger section of the team is in China, and that's where a lot of it is. Additionally, he said that they work with a lot of subcontractors as well. So in fact, they have some long-term relationships with one, so they can kind of get repeated work from them, but they're not like full-time benefits, all that kind of stuff. They're definitely trying to run a company smart. That's good to see as well. Okay, do you plan future reprints of Deep Madness or Twisted Fables as you've done before? I asked that because that's kind of their way to get money without really increasing scope too much. Deep Madness, the answer is no, probably not. At least if they did another reprint or another campaign of Deep Madness, it would be something different or new. For Twisted Fables, perhaps they'll have some reprints alongside some new expansions in the future, though, again, that it's not really been discussed too much yet. So, anyway, there's your update there on Dawn of Madness, and kind of Celestial and Dimension Games in general. I am trying to get that information to you guys, so you guys know the most information you can. I'm trying to ask these developers the kind of the straight up questions in a respectful way, of course, but like, hey, let us know, especially like, hey, like how much is hanging on Celestial, right? That's great to know. Hey, what's your company structure like? That's great to know. I love learning those things. It can definitely either build confidence or maybe not, just depends. In this case, I think this definitely helped build a little bit of confidence for me. And it was good to hear back from these questions, because I ask these questions actually fairly often to a lot of companies, and I don't hear back. So it's good to hear back. Next up, of course, will be the Mythic Games update. I'll be commenting on that, both what you guys have said, some of the discussion points, where they're currently at, some new options that they have. They actually have some new options available to you if you back Six Siege, and some discussions on why those are added afterwards. A whole host of things. Then, after that, Dante, Invasion of Hell. I'll have a video dedicated to that. First details for you guys, so stay tuned for that. And with that, that's it. I'm going to rest my voice a little bit. I'm going to try and get some sleep. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys.